Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something that seems simple but is actually incredibly complex: international shipping. We're going to follow the journey of one Canadian exporter, and you'll see how it brings in everything from national security and global treaties to, get this, a secret language of codes.
All right, Section 1. Exporting is way more than just mail. I mean, it all kicks off with a question that sounds so simple, but it's really not.
So, have you ever really thought about what it takes to get a product from here to, well, over there? You might think, oh, it's like mailing a package to a cousin. But for a business, oh man, it's a whole different ballgame. The stakes are sky high, and if you mess up, the consequences can be pretty serious.
So let's take a real-life example. There was this Canadian biotech firm, right? They were just trying to ship a simple enzyme to a lab over in Germany. Sounds easy enough, but here's the twist. That enzyme was considered a dual-use item. That means it had a perfectly legit commercial use, but it could also potentially be used for military stuff. Yeah, suddenly not so simple.
And that dual-use thing? It meant they had this massive compliance checklist to get through. And look, this isn't just a bunch of red tape for the sake of it. Every single one of these points is a layer of protection. That government permit? That's to handle the controlled good part. Vetting the German lab? That's to make sure they're not shipping to someone on a sanctions list. And all that special packaging? That's about protecting you, me, and the environment while this stuff is on the move.
Okay, so Section 2, the high cost of error. You might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of hoops to jump through. And you're right. So why bother? Well, because getting it wrong isn't just a fine or a slap on the wrist. We're talking about risks to our national security, our economy, and the business itself. You know, this whole system is really built on three main pillars, and they're all connected. First, you've got security and safety. Pretty obvious, right? We want to keep sensitive technology out of the wrong hands. Then, that idea gets formalized through legal and international agreements, like treaties, which protects Canada's reputation on the world stage. And finally, all of this is tracked with economic and trade data, which helps the government get a really clear picture of what's coming in and what's going out.
And this isn't just some made-up what-if scenario. A Canadian company actually got caught shipping advanced tech to Russia without the right permits. And it gets worse. They were selling to buyers who were basically linked to shell companies, businesses that only exist on paper. They completely ignored a ton of red flags during the whole process.
And the fallout from that? It's not just a corporate problem. We're talking about real personal consequences. For knowingly exporting controlled goods without a permit, someone, an actual person, can face up to 10 years in prison. 10 years. That's serious.
And on top of potential jail time for an individual, the hit to the business itself can be absolutely devastating. We're talking massive legal penalties, fines up to $10 million. Your shipments can literally be seized right at the border. And maybe worst of all, your company can have its export privileges completely revoked. Basically, you're banned from doing business internationally. That could be game over.
So, Section 3. We've got our hero exporter facing all these crazy challenges. What do they need? Well, they need a map and a compass. And in the world of shipping, that map, it's your paperwork.
Okay, so the first tool in your toolkit, and honestly the most important one, is the export declaration. The best way to think about it is like your official permission slip to ship something. It's an electronic report you file with the government, and it lays out exactly what you're shipping, where it's headed, and how much it's worth. And listen, if your shipment is worth more than $2,000, or if it's a controlled item at all, this thing is absolutely mandatory.
Then you've got the second key piece of paper, the Certificate of Origin. And this thing is a powerful tool, let me tell you. It's basically a signed declaration saying, yep, this was made right here in Canada. Why does that matter? Because if your customer is in a country that has a free trade agreement with us, they could pay way less, or maybe even zero in import taxes. That makes your product cheaper for them and gives you a huge competitive advantage.
All right, on to Section 4, from paper to portal.
The way we handle all this paperwork today is completely different from how it used to be. And the reason for that massive change, it was all sparked by one single, unforgettable event in history. Yeah, you can see it right here. Before 2001, export declarations were just these paper forms called a B-13A, and they were mostly just for collecting statistics. But then September 11th happened, and those attacks exposed massive security holes in global trade. All of a sudden, knowing exactly what was leaving the country and who it was going to became a top national security priority. That led directly to the creation of the Canada Border Services Agency in 2003, and the entire focus shifted from data collection to security.
And that shift from statistics to security, it changed absolutely everything. We went from this slow, clunky, paper-based system where you told the government what you shipped after it had already left to the modern CERS portal. Now, everything is digital. It's filed before the shipment goes anywhere. And the system is smart. It could actually flag errors in real time, helping you avoid those super costly mistakes before they happen.
So now for Section 5, where we crack the final piece of this puzzle. All this fancy digital paperwork, it only works because of one thing: a kind of secret language that lets every country in the world speak fluently about every single product. It's called the Harmonized System, or HS code. And seriously, every single product that gets traded internationally has one. Think of it like a universal barcode for, well, everything. This 10-digit number tells a customs official in Canada, in Germany, in Japan, wherever, exactly what's inside that box. And the way this code is built is actually kind of genius. It works like one of those Russian nesting dolls. The first couple of digits give you the broad chapter, like base metals. The next two narrow it down to the heading, like nails or staples. The next two get even more specific, like iron or steel staples. And those last 4 digits? That's for Canada's own use for specific tariff and statistical stuff. Each layer adds another level of detail.
And trust me, getting this code right is absolutely critical. It's not just a suggestion. This code determines the taxes your customer pays. Get it wrong, and it could cost them thousands. It's what flags whether your product needs a special permit. And it's what creates the accurate economic data the government relies on. A simple typo here can get your shipment stuck at the border or hit you with a massive bill.
So, when you boil it all down, it really comes to this. Think of your export documents as passports for your goods. I mean, you can't just walk across a border without your passport, right? Well, neither can your products. That export declaration, that certificate of origin, and that correct HS code, those are the passports that let your goods travel the world legally and safely.
This whole invisible journey we've been following, it's the hidden machinery that makes the entire global economy work. From all those security checks and digital portals to this secret language of codes, it's what lets a product go from a warehouse here in Canada to a customer pretty much anywhere on the planet. It's this incredibly complex system, hiding in plain sight, that builds the economy we all rely on. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredibly complex systems are out there, just hiding in plain sight?